I got this new pH tester I'm going to try out. Looks like this. Pretty simple little thing. Got a little meter in it. It checks your light, your moistness, and the pH or the acidity. You just stick it in the ground. So should be interesting to try out. So I'm over by one of my cherry trees. Let's see what it looks like here. You stick it in about 4 inches, they say, into the ground. So the moisture is, it's pretty wet. It just rained. See, it's in the green zone. This is the light. Plenty of light, of course. It's sunny. Okay, it's pretty on the alkaline side for pH, though. It's up in the 7.5 to 8. Pretty alkaline. Doesn't matter if you stick it down farther. The farther you go, the more alkaline it gets. Yeah, there is a green spot there but it's about 7 3/4 to 8. So we'll see what that does. So I'm going to plant strawberries and stuff up here. This soil has not been amended in any way. It's straight from the factory. So we'll see what the pH is here. Hard to not hit a rock in the Rocky Mountains. There we go. Quite wet. Tons of light. The pH is, yeah, same. 7 3/4, 7.5, a little less. This is my pile of Trimix, which is, you know, a soil amendment. Let's see what it does on the pH meter. So it's a little on the dry side. Even though it rained in it a lot, you can see the water didn't soak in very much. Plenty of light. pH is a little higher, a little lower. The alkaline is a little more alkaline, looks like. 8. It doesn't change when you put it in or take it out. I don't know. I'm going to try. I have another way of testing the pH too with test strips. I'm going to try that too and see how that works. Well, I want to see if the pH meter is even working, but I can see in this potting soil, it's old potting soil, but that one's definitely more acid, a lot more. It's all the way down to, you know, 5 1/4. Then over here in these geraniums, potting soil, it's around 6. So it does seem to work. Let's try down here by this tree. This soil has been amended a little. Yeah, it's much more alkaline with the soil around here is pretty alkaline. So we'll see. Okay, so I'm going to try using test strips to test the alkaline, the pH of my soil here. So I've tried the machine and it shows about 7.5 to 8, which is quite alkaline. That's to be expected. It's pretty sandy soil here and up in the mountains. But I'm going to try this other system. So get water, soil, mix it together, let it sit for, they say, 30 minutes. And then kind of strain out the solids and then put the test strip in and see what the colors say. So that's what I'm going to do next. Okay, so I'm going to test the pH of my soil using these test strips kit. I've tried it with the electronic device, and it gave me a pretty high alkaline reading, but I thought I'd try it with the test strips and see if I can get the same reading or if it's different. So I've brought some soil over, a sample of the soil. I've mixed it with water and let it sit for about 20 minutes. They say let it sit for 20 to 30 minutes for the after mixing it, to let the the chemicals in the soil dissolve into the water and stabilize. I have a screen. This is the cup I'm going to use to test it in, and this is some water from my faucet at the cabin. Now, if you look at it, it's a little bit brown in color. This water has been filtered and purified using UV light, but it has a little bit of what I call tree tea and dissolved in it. It's got a slightly brown color. That comes from the plants and the organic matter around here. It's rained a lot here recently, so the water picks up some color from the organic matter here that's dissolved in the water and can't be filtered out only by distilling or another method like that. So I'm going to test the water too and see if it's neutral or if it's adding its own pH difference. So let's go. I'm going to filter some of this dissolved earth water into this cup so I don't have too much mud on the test strip. Should do it. Still pretty brown, but hopefully that works. All right, so you put a strip in and you let it sit for 60 seconds for the chemicals to react with the litmus patches on here. They have four patches that start at different colors, and they go opposite directions as they react. So you compare them on this chart to see what your pH is. So this one I'm going to dip into the water, and this one I'm going to dip into the soil mixture. We're supposed to wait about a minute. And I can see the one in the water is definitely changing color. I can't tell in the soil yet because the soil water is too brown to tell, but hopefully when I shake the water off it'll make a difference. So this is not good. My water has quite a bit of pH in it already. It's not neutral. They tell you to use distilled water, but I don't have any distilled water, so that's pretty close. I'm sure that's long enough to react. So you can see now they're different colors. So we'll just compare the water one first. The water one, I guess it's supposed to go like this. It looks like the water one is around 6.5, if you can see. So just the straight water already has 6.5, it looks like. See, it's a little, maybe 5.5. How about 5.5? Let's call it 5.5. All right, let's see what the soil strip looks like. Of course, it's hard to tell now because the water I've used has already turned it to 5.5, so it's lighter. So you can see it's more alkaline. See how it's light. See how the orange is. So the soil is definitely more alkaline compared with the water and the soil mixture. It looks like it's up around 7.5 to 8, which is what I get from the electronic meter. So what does that mean? I'll have to think about it a little while to determine what this, what it means that the water has changed it so much. Let's just look at a neutral strip. See what an unreacted strip looks like. Here's the water one. See the unreacted strip. So here's the unreacted strip, and here's the one that was in just the water. So you can see how much the water has changed it. Turned that top one quite a bit blue. So I'll have to think about what that really means, but this one for the soil indicates around soil pH of about 8, so that's consistent with what the electronic meter means. So I'm just going to go with that. I'm going to assume my soil is around 8, 7.5 to 8, which makes sense because it's a sandy soil and has quite a bit of lime in it, so limestone in it, stone, you know, so that makes sense. Typically the clay soils are a little more acidic, and the limes, the sandy soils are more alkaline. Okay. Okay, for the sake of testing, I thought I'd try some of the soil amendments. I bought this pile of soil amendment last week. It's called Trimix. It's soil and manure and some compost matter mixed together. And I thought I'd test the pH of it. And while I was in there, I got to looking at the pH information. I kind of forgot, but the water here tests around 5.5 to 6, which is just a little on the acid side. So the water is a little bit acid out of the creek, and the soil is definitely alkaline. So for the sake of testing, I mean, I got about 7.5 on the alkaline. That means I'm probably somewhere around 8 on the alkaline, which is a little high on alkaline, you know. Anyway, I'm going to try this this Trimix. So you mix about half and half, the soil and to be tested, and the water. I have to wash this. About half and half water, and let it sit for about 10 or 15 minutes. So I'll mix it together, and we'll see whether the Trimix is alkaline or acid. I have another kit that tests for nitrogen and phosphorus and some other chemical presences in the soil, which I may try later. But first, I want to just deal with this pH because it's the most fundamental chemical test, and pH kind of affects a lot of things dramatically. So we'll let that sit a while. Okay, so I've been letting this soil amendment sit for a while. Hopefully the nutrients are all dissolved in the water now. So I'm going to test it now for pH. So first I filter a little of it out with a screen. Like that. Then we get a fresh test strip. Which looks like this. See how it doesn't match anything. It's the yellow on the top hasn't been reacted with anything. They all change a little, but this one's the most dramatic change. Alright, so we put it in the water. It takes about 60 seconds. 4 inches of rain here yesterday. Really got things going. It was rain and snow. I guess you can't see any of the snow left over, but it was about 6 inches of wet snow, which in my rain gauge came out to be about 4 inches of rain, which is a lot for one day. But it's springtime in the Rockies, that's what we get here. Okay, I'm sure this has sat long, this stayed long enough. Okay, so this is the trimix. So it's pretty neutral. Look at that. It's darker than the 5.5. Lighter than this, but lighter or close to. It looks very neutral, actually. Not that dark. Maybe just a tiny bit alkaline. So that's good. That'll help bring the nature of my soil down a little bit to more of a neutral thing. I don't think this is important enough for what I'm planning here to add amendments to change the pH. Those can be, it takes a lot of amendments to change the pH of soil. For example, lime or I forgot what the other thing is you add, but lime will make it more acidic, right? Then, or your pine needles or things like that will make it more. The lime makes it more alkaline, and the pine needles and things will make it more acidic. But it takes a lot to change this very much. And really, the plants I'm planting, strawberries and asparagus and the blueberries, they're not going to be that sensitive to this pH. It's close enough. So, but it's good to know that I'm a little on the alkaline side, and I can, if things are messed up later, I can factor that into my decisions on what I am going to add to the soil, if anything. So we'll see how that goes.